Hi, friends. It's Will, and I'm coming to you with a pick a card tarot reading today. And the question that we're going to address is someone gatekeeping you? Is someone gatekeeping you? I've chosen 3 objects, more or less at random, and each of them will designate a different reading. But I've also taken the trump cards, the major arcana, from a deck, and I've been shuffling them. I'm going to shuffle them a little more now, and I'm going to draw 1 to act as a kind of significator for each of the 3 piles. So let's see what we get for pile 1. The Emperor. So pile 1 is this ball of wool, and the Emperor. Pile 2 is the shell, and the Devil. Pile 3 is Judgment, and the flower agate. So please take a moment to think about which of these you are most drawn to. And your options again are the wool, and the Emperor, or number 2, the shell, and the Devil. Or finally, the flower agate, and Judgment. Please choose 1, 2, or 3, and I will have the timestamps below so that you can go to your reading. And I'll see you there. Hello, Group 1. So, welcome to your reading. And of course, you chose the beautiful brown wool and the Emperor. These called out to you with regard to the question, is someone gatekeeping you? So I'll put this to the side and I'll put this here still within the frame because we'll make reference to it in the reading, I imagine. And I've got my deck here and I've been shuffling it quite a bit. I'm going to do just a little more shuffling overhand while I think about the question, while I think about the Emperor in relation to the question. Is someone gatekeeping the Emperor? That would be quite a trick, wouldn't it? The Emperor is powerful, strong, stable, structured. The Emperor usually gets to tell people what to do. So for someone to gatekeep, withhold something, some community, some resource from the Emperor would be, well, my first thought is kind of arrogant, but let's see what the cards say. So we're going to do a 9-card portrait spread using an open reading method. And I'll lay out the cards in 3 rows of 3, one at a time, and let's just see what we get. Another 4. So 4 of batons, Four of Batons. So this card makes me think of, obviously, the four here with the Emperor, stability, structure, maybe the home or the workplace. If you think about the four, it can be like the four corners of a house or a workplace or a building, right? So it's something that lasts, something that can provide a roof over your head, something that gives you structure. It also makes me think of a stable community because batons are a very social suit, right? They're about people getting together often. And so I'm thinking here about a community that is stable and structured, but also maybe at a bit of a stalemate, right? Like maybe hasn't been anything new injected into this group of people in a while, and so it's kind of getting stale. Okay, 8 swords. So we've got twice as many swords as we have batons, as though conflict fairly quickly has doubled within the group. So stability in the group, but some kind of conflict has exploded, has bloomed or blossomed with this tiny little flower that we see defensively stuck in the ellipsis that is available within that little white space amongst all of those thorny swords. So this community is having some conflict, right? The other way to think about 8s, of course, are in terms of movement, effort, progress. And with the swords, it's that progress and movement is held back, right? That we, or this group, or you are having trouble making any progress here. At one time it was stable, and now it's at a standstill, probably due to conflict, right? I could also think about, because swords are the suit of communication, maybe there have been some words exchanged amongst people in the group, and these words have created conflict, and now that's all that anybody's able to deal with. Oh, and here's someone looking at our Emperor. So someone is looking at you, right? This is your significator. You chose this card. I, for no particular reason other than it's what my hands did, I think I had the Emperor over here for a second, and then I put it over here. And then pulling up here the King of Batons, this person is looking at you, and you maybe aren't even looking at this person. So there's somebody here who's got eyes on you, and it's a king. So it's someone with some power in the group. It's someone at the top of the group, and it's someone holding a baton. So someone who maybe is inclined to act impulsively. The baton isn't a sword, but it can be used as a weapon. So it can be used to metaphorically attack someone, right? And this person, I think, is looking at you like, it's the side eye, right? It's kind of the side eye that the King of Batons is giving to you as the Emperor. So I'm going to lay out the rest of the 9 cards, but to begin to answer the question for you here, is someone gatekeeping you? I think the King of Batons might be gatekeeping something from you, right? If we look at just the composition of how these cards are laid out, we've got a stable group, and we've got a king here who's put something behind, let's call these gates, given the context of the reading, so that you can't get in, right? That is what's happening here. The World. So underneath this stability of the group, we have 5 figures. 4 in the corners upholding that stability, right? And they're each a different element. So we've got a joining together, a unity of the different elements in this group. And they're all surrounding another figure, a 5th figure in the center, who is a part of the group, but also separate from the group, right? They're all within the frame of the card, but this one figure stands out because they're within this wreath that has been constructed around them. So this also does make me think a little bit about exclusivity and the idea that maybe these 4 figures, let's call them, are sort of keeping some distance from the one in the center, right? And I can't help but think that this one in the center is the emperor, because if you look here, we've got another baton or wand on the right side, right? So like in the figure's left hand. And on the emperor is also holding a kind of baton or staff in the emperor's left hand, as opposed to the king of batons who's holding it in the right hand. So I'm seeing a mirror here, or a rhyme, we might call it a visual rhyme, where sure, we've got the significator emperor here, but also cut off a bit from the others. The other visual rhyme I'm seeing is between the 8 of Swords and the world, where there is this oval or ellipsis kind of shape, right? And something is being separated from the other elements by this shape. And so that's repeating, right? One thing, one valuable thing being kept away from others. That sounds like gatekeeping to me. What do you think? Oh my. So 9 swords, underneath the 8 swords, 9 swords. So we have an increase, a very slow increase in conflict, in tension, in anxiety. And of course, this being the 5th card of the 9 that I'm going to lay out, it means that at the center of the entire spread, at the center of everything, we're going to find the 9 swords. So that's not a particularly comfortable situation that we would want anyone to be in. This is sometimes known as the nightmare card because of the image on the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And other people think of it more in terms of courage, right? That you have to have courage to go the little bit more, just from 9 up to 10 to complete a cycle. Here, I would try to read it more visually, and we'll see what happens with the next 4 cards, but I'm seeing this little flower that is just barely able to bloom turning into a sword, right? Like it could bloom into a flower, couldn't it? A beautiful flower, but instead we've got a sword. So we've got conflict, we've got pain, maybe anxiety, replacing something that could have been beautiful. I also want to point out the stability of the group that we're starting with, whatever this group might be, whether it's at work or a social group online or something. I especially think online because, wands represent fire, at least they do in the way that I read the tarot. And I associate that too with like anything electric, right? Like electric technologies. So we've got these 2 big flowers and some beautiful little leaves here on the side. But when we move forward to the right, the foliage has shrunken to a great extent. And when we move down to the next, there's hardly any. There's these 4 little buds. But now we've got the sword that has cut away, chopped away this little flower growing. That's too bad. Oh boy, lovers. We've got lovers. So, underneath the King of Batons, we have the lovers. Now, the lovers can, of course, represent lovers, right? Like a relationship, but they don't have to do that. They can also represent having to make a choice, right? We've got a figure in the middle who has to choose between two other people, representing each a different option or path. And then, of course, we have the sort of Cupid-like figure up in the air who is shooting the one in the center to give direction, like you should make this choice. So we can imagine looking for a message, maybe a message from above, to help one decide which choice to make. There's a great sense of ambivalence in this card, meaning you don't know what to do, right? Like both ways look good or both ways look kind of bad. So you're not sure which to choose. You can see in the center of the card, the figure is looking at the other figure on the left, on my left, but touching the one on the right. So this person doesn't know what to do. Which makes me think, like, is there a question here, a decision about, well, if they're gatekeeping me, should I just leave the group? Right? Should I just get out? What am I even doing here? Or is there any way that I can fix this? Is there any way that I could stay in the group and maybe integrate myself more and not have them gatekeep me, right? Okay, well, there's card 13 for you. There's card 13. We know what this is, death, which doesn't represent death, literally, but it represents an ending. It represents cutting something out, ending something. It's underneath the world, which is underneath the card that's representing the stability of this social group, whatever it might be in your particular case. So, we might be looking at making the choice of ending our relationship to this group so that we can start something new. Here's the Ace of Cups, representing a new means of fulfillment, a new relationship, something fulfilling, something nourishing, right? Something that feeds our soul, our emotions, our feelings. We like to see lots of Cups cards, and I'm glad we've at least got one in this spread. It is interesting that the single Cups card, as elaborate as it is, falls underneath a whole lot of swords. Okay. Well, there's hope. 6 batons. 6 batons. This would represent this group for overcoming something and finding harmony again, right? 4, stability. 5 would be overcoming something, probably through some competition, struggle, useless conflict, needless conflict. But 6 is harmony again and working together, collaborating with people to build something. And look at the flowers are back, right? Got some foliage growing, and these flowers have returned after having been cut down. So I think what's being cut here, I'd said earlier, it maybe is leaving the group. I'm not sure that it does represent leaving the group. I think maybe that it represents cutting out the conflict, like cutting out the cutting, sort of, and replacing it with a cup instead. So let's take a look at this overall. and just get a sense for the whole thing together. Overall, here's what I'd say to answer the question, because as we know, the most important thing is to answer the question. So to answer the question, is someone gatekeeping you? I'm going to go ahead and say yes. There is someone who's very high up in this group, right? The king of batons, the king of the group, who is gatekeeping, right? Who's giving you the side eye and is holding something back from you, doesn't want you to have access to it, maybe because it makes this person feel a little more confident in their own abilities or skills or knowledge or power by keeping someone out, by being exclusive in some way. But they can't keep you out of the group entirely, right? You're within it and sort of outside of it at the same time. That's what I would say with the world here, right? You're within the frame of everyone else in the group, but isolated, separated to some extent, right? And you're going to have to cut your way out, right? You're going to have to use your metaphorical sword to cut your way out. And I'm just seeing here, what is death looking at? I'm going to pull another card, a clarifier card here to see, because this figure, death, is facing left and is looking at something outside of the 9 cards. So what is it? Another major. It is the Chariot. So death is about to cut away the Chariot, meaning cutting away this moving forward quickly, cutting away a sense of being able to have control over everything. Oh, and look. I think that this is the King of Batons. The gray and red is very similar. See the colors? The King of Batons has got this sort of chevron red pointing up, just like the figure on the Chariot, right? And is holding in his right hand on the left side of the card, holding a baton, okay? So death is cutting away the King of Batons. So I think maybe there is some kind of leadership change being prepared for in this group. This person who is gatekeeping, someone needs to put an end to that, right? The other people in the group need to get together and stop the gatekeeping from happening, because there needs to be a new, fulfilling, nourishing, happy, joyful energy coming into the group, injected into the group. Otherwise, we're going to end up sitting on all these swords, and nobody wants that. And so I think what I'm reading here pretty clearly, from my perspective, it's really clear that it's cutting out this King of Batons. And if that can be done, then the group can achieve a new harmony, a new sense of cooperation, working together to get these flowers, these metaphorical flowers, blooming again, to get things blooming again. Okay, cool. This was great. I really liked this. I'm really pleased with how this turned out. So that is your reading. Emperors, we'll call you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that it gave you a new perspective on your current situation. I hope that it was a little entertaining to watch. If you're enjoying my tarot videos, please consider subscribing. That would help me know that people are interested and want more of this. And I'll go ahead and end it there. Thanks so much, and have a great day. Hello, Group 2. Welcome to your reading. We have here the shell that you chose and your significator, the devil card. Interesting. The fact that you chose the devil already tells me so much about you. So I've got my deck here, and of course I've been shuffling it prior to starting the reading, but I'm going to shuffle it a little more now while I think about the question, think about the devil card here, and then we'll get to it. I'll lay out a 9-card spread, a portrait spread. I'll do 3 cards in 3 rows. And the question that we're working with is someone gatekeeping you? Is someone gatekeeping you? Is there someone at work, in your family, in your friend group, online, whatever it is, who is trying to keep you out of the group or keep a resource from you, something like that? So, you little devils, let's see what the cards can tell us. Okay, let's put this to the side down here. 4 swords. We're starting with 4 swords. So this makes me think of this beautiful flower surrounded by these pointy, thorny, uncomfortable swords. We might even call them a gate, right? The swords, the way they're arranged, they sort of remind me a little bit of an actual gate. So I'm not going to answer the question yet because I've only pulled 1 card, right? We're going to pull 9, but let's see. Is this flower within these swords because it wants to be there? Maybe it needs a rest. Maybe it needs to withdraw from things a little bit. Maybe it's tired. Maybe it's been through some stuff. I'm looking at you, 3 of swords. Or is it here because there was nowhere else for it to grow? Or is it here because there's someone who is not letting it go somewhere else? Ooh, 4 coins. Okay, so 4 swords and a flower become 4 coins and a shield, as though there is some stability or structure here that is very defensive. The shield makes me think defensive, like we're trying to hold on to whatever it is that we've currently got. We don't want to let things go. We're not interested in investing our time, our money, our energy in stuff, the stuff that we have. We are interested in defending what we've got, which means we're probably not going to be doing any growing anytime soon. Okay, let's keep going. Oh, didn't I just say I'm looking at you, 3 swords, and then who's this? Hi, 3 swords, hello. Okay, so we've got 4 swords and a beautiful flower trying to hold on to whatever it is they've got, maybe in a reactive kind of way, in a way that, sure, you might hold on to what you've got, but you're never going to get anything else. Nothing's ever going to change, right? And then what happens to that flower? That flower is cut down by a sword. Chop. No more flower. Now we've got an empty space filled with a sword. So, 3 of swords can be heartbreak. 3 of swords can be using the mind to overcome the feelings I'm thinking particularly of the image on the Rider-Waite-Smith deck as opposed to what we're seeing here in the Tarot de Marseille. This can be a card of victory. This can also be a card of learning, right? The growth of the mind. If we think of threes in terms of growth or the expression of something, and swords as intellect, reason, and the mind, or communication, could be the growth of the mind, learning something. So there may be something to learn from this situation, you little devil, you. We've got the King of Swords showing up, and he's looking at something. We'll find out in a moment what he's looking at. And by the way, with my court cards, I read them regardless of gender. So I say he, but I think that this could be a person of any gender, right? So there's someone here who's powerful, very knowledgeable, authoritative, intelligent, reasonable, probably pretty calm, at least on the outside, although inside all kinds of stuff could be going on. And this person could make trouble, is in a position where if they wanted to, they could make trouble. You know, look at the cards we've got out so far. We've got swords, coins, swords, swords. Most of what we're looking here is swords, and this guy is the leader, the one with the most power, the most direct power anyways, over that suit. And you know, they can cut you, right? That's what swords do. They cut, they slice. What is this king looking at, please? 7 cups. Well, so I know that a lot of people interpret the 7 of Cups in terms of making choices, like maybe being stuck in a fantasy, not being able to decide. I read it a little differently, especially in this deck, because the way it's lined up, we have a group of cups. And if we think of the cups as being analogies for individuals, people, right? We've got a group. What we have is a group of people, and one of the cups is in the center, is relegated off by this lovely foliage, relegated off, separated, we might say, from the rest of the group. They're still included in the group to some extent, right? They're still within the frame of the card, but they're at the center. It's almost like everybody is surrounding them and looking at them. They're very much maintaining their own individuality, but the question is, do they want to be more a part of the group, or is the group sort of deliberately isolating them? And when we're thinking about gatekeeping, obviously, I can't help but think about that. So the leader of this group, whatever it might be, you know, whether it's at work or at school, I think particularly at school or some place where you're using your mind a lot. I guess that could be work too, right? Depending on what the job is looking at the fact that someone, hint, hint, is not totally integrating with the group, okay? That there's maybe a kind of transition happening. I sometimes think of 7s as transition cards. And so there's a transition where this person is in the group, transitioning in, but also maybe transitioning out, like they're not quite fitting in the group. Okay. All right, a page of batons. A page of batons. This could be another person in the group. That's the first thing that I think of. This person is looking at this singled out cup, and maybe other people aren't noticing. That's what comes to mind, that we've got the King of Swords, who is a powerful, authoritative member of this group, who really is in a position to gatekeep if they wanted to. And the other members of the group, who are like the pages or maybe the knights, right? They are turning their back to it, right? They don't see the way that the leader is looking at this one little old cup. So I don't want to answer the question yet because we've got 3 more cards to pull, but a provisional answer that I'm going to offer here, which I might revise, is that yes, there is some gatekeeping happening. You're being isolated, right? And who's responsible for that? Who's underneath, literally underneath that isolation? Well, it's a leader in the group. And what you need to do is try being defensive, right? Maintaining some structure and stability within this group. You're going to have to be defensive, but you're going to have to learn something new because nobody else is seeing this happening, right? Nobody else is seeing it. This other person representing one of these cups, standing in for the group, isn't seeing what's happening behind their back. Oh, but maybe there's some justice. Maybe there's some justice to be had here. So underneath the leader, underneath the King of Swords, we've got Justice. And she's got a sword too, hasn't she? But she's also got scales. So I can't help but think here that the visual rhymes that we see between these two cards, especially with the sword, right? But we've got a single figure, right? And by sort of what we might call the law of transformation, they're transforming from this card into this card. So underneath, on the outside, the King of Swords looks like he's giving you the side eye. He's got his sword drawn. And in his other hand is, I believe, this is the scabbard, right? That the sword goes into. Suggesting maybe that the sword has been recently drawn. But that scabbard turns into the scales. So maybe this person is going to realize that they need to be more fair, right? Justice. They need to be more just. Underneath it, they're realizing maybe they've tipped the scales too much against you, and it's time to balance that out. Justice is all about balance. More coins for us. 2 of them this time. I notice also, just to go back here for a second, reading the King of Swords transforming into Justice means they're not looking at you anymore. So like something may happen where you're no longer going to be on their radar, right? So underneath this 7 cups, we've got 2 coins representing duality, maybe a choice for the sake of your own well-being might be coming. I also can't help but see a visual rhyme between the scales, where we have these 2 circular or oval-like kind of objects growing up and turning into these 2 big coins connected to one another. So I think a balance is on its way to being struck. A balance is going to be found. So if things were out of balance before and you were sort of relegated to the middle, isolated, I think I said earlier, a balance might be on its way. Okay, and that becoming 3 coins, 2 coins becoming 3 coins, so 4, 2, 3. This is about working together, collaborating to produce something new, to produce something good, right? Working together with other people, getting things done. So there's a lot of reason to be hopeful here that this person who is likely doing some gatekeeping is going to get over it, right? They're going to realize that really they need to be fair. They need to be fair about it. And that's going to allow them to find a better balance, to help you integrate better into the group, work with other people. Now, if you're a little devil, right, I can't help but notice another visual rhyme, okay? So you chose the devil card as your significator for the reading, and the composition of the card creates a triangular shape, doesn't it? We have the devil up here, and then the two, what'll we call them? These two other figures, demons, whatever they are, with the horns and the ears, creating a triangle shape. And I had placed the devil in the lower right-hand corner prior to drawing the final card of the spread. And the final card of the spread is the 3 of coins. And of course, they're arranged in a triangular shape. So this tells me that in addition to you, like, there's actually two options here. One is that this is going to end by you integrating into the group. It's collaborative. You're able to work together. Y'all are producing something great, okay? That's how the spread ends. But when we figure that your significator sitting right next to it has a similar composition but is the devil, this is saying, like, you also need to be careful that you don't bring too much devilishness into this group, okay? So just because the King of Swords was gatekeeping you, that does not give you the right to put these other people in bondage, right? It doesn't give you the right to manipulate, to lie, to make up for it, right? You are just as subject to justice as anybody else is, all right? So if you're in your feelings about it, don't take it out on other people, right? That would not be fair. Okay, I'm satisfied. I think that's good. So the answer to the question then is, yeah, I think someone is gatekeeping you, right? And it's someone who's likely a leader in the group, someone in a position to use that sword to cut off access to others, right? But if you sort of stick with it for a while, try to maintain some consistency, some stability, keep your shield up, right? You're going to be able to be victorious and learn something. Other people probably aren't noticing the way that you're being isolated, right? But this king certainly notices it. But underneath that, justice is going to show up. And justice is going to help the King of Swords to realize that he needs to find a balance between how he's been treating you to help you integrate into the group, collaborate, work together to produce something awesome. But your reminder is, stick with that 3 of coins. Keep collaborating. Don't let the devil come out, in other words. All right. Okay, cool. So I will end it there. I hope that you enjoyed your reading. I hope it gave you a different perspective on your situation and on things. And if you've been enjoying the tarot videos that I've been posting, I'd very much appreciate if you would consider subscribing. And I'll end it there. Have a great day. Thanks so much, everyone. Hello, everyone. This is the reading for group 3. Welcome to your reading. And you chose, of course, Judgment as your significator card. So maybe you're feeling like you're ready to wake up from something, like you're being called to do something, maybe like you need to be born into something new. Those are my initial thoughts that I get from this card. I also notice, of course, there's a group of people. It's not about a single individual here. It's about several different people together rising up as one. And so you, of course, had the flower agate stone. I'm going to set that aside so that I have plenty of room for the cards. Let's put Judgment over here for a moment. I've shuffled the deck prior to starting, but I'm going to continue doing some overhand shuffling while I think about the question and while I think about the judgment card. So the question, of course, is someone gatekeeping you? Is someone gatekeeping you? Is someone gatekeeping you? Okay. All right, that feels good. So let's set the deck down. Okay. Okay. All right, so we're starting with a court card. We've got the Page of Swords here. And, I put Judgment up here in the left-hand corner, upper left-hand corner. And it looks like the Page of Swords is looking at that card. And of course, this is your significator. So I'm going to leave the Judgment card there because I think it's significant that if we follow the line of sight of this page, it's pretty clear that the page is looking right in your direction. So, the page is probably not the leader of whatever group it is that we're involved in here, right? So whether this is at work or family or a friend group or a group online or something like that, this is a page. This isn't a king. This isn't a queen. So they're not in charge, but it doesn't mean that they couldn't necessarily throw you the side eye and maybe do a little gatekeeping, or at least attempt to. Let's see what we've got next. Oh my, okay. So we're talking about 10 batons here. 10 batons, all interlaced together. So 10s can represent an ending, a resolution, a conclusion, something finishing so that something else is ready to begin again. The suit of wands I think of as a very social suit. So actually in this case, I'm not totally sure that it represents an ending so much as it represents a whole lot of people, 10 being the most batons you could have on any one card, a whole lot of people working together to build something. We use batons to build, right? They're like sticks or logs that you can pile up and create something with, like a house or something, right? And so here we've got a whole bunch of them. So this makes me think a lot of people being social, working together to create something, to build something, like maybe a group. It could also be, because batons represent fire, right? So it could also be something that everybody's really passionate about, like thinking of like a fan group or something like that, where like everybody is super into this activity or this person or this kind of music. And they're burning super hot for it, right? They're really passionate about it. And we have justice. Interesting. Justice who wants to find balance. Justice who has a sword just like the page does. And so I want to pull the rest of the cards to see, but I'm wondering if, like, does the page with their sword, which is tilted in your direction, they're looking at you, you represented by the card you chose, Judgment, they're looking at you and their sword is drawn and the sword is tilted in your direction. But after an encounter with the 10 of batons, after an encounter with the great passion of the group, their sword goes upright again. and they become more balanced, right? So my initial answer to the question, is someone gatekeeping you? I think maybe someone is thinking about it, but they feel like they need to gather more information. They need to do some more research on you. And they're not necessarily acting, but like that sword is up. They're ready. They're going to do it. They're going to do it. But then something happens where they encounter, maybe it's your great passion for whatever it is that brings this group together. And they tilt their sword up and they balance everything out. But there's another page. This time the Page of Cups. So we're dealing with multiple people here. The Page of Cups is more likely to be really sensitive. And it's interesting that they're underneath the Page of Swords, like the Page of Swords is on top of them. Oh, and at the center of everything, because card 5 in the center of 9, Temperance is at the center of everything. So here, again, a card suggesting balance, but here it's like about looking backward towards the left, towards the past, to try to fix something maybe that is thrown out of balance. And here Temperance wants to do the right thing, right? To fix a wrong. So the idea that I'm actually getting here now is I wonder if the gatekeeping behavior isn't actually directed so much at you as it's directed at this poor Page of Cups. Is there someone else who's being gatekept, so to speak, by this Page of Swords? And is there something you could do to fix that? I'm seeing a visual rhyme between the winged figure, angel, I suppose we could say, on Judgment, your significator, and the wings on Temperance. Like, are you over here actually supposed to be here helping to heal, helping to fix the situation with the Page of Cups? Seven Cups. So with the 7 Cups, I think about someone being isolated. We've got 1 cup in the middle, kind of on its own, surrounded by this beautiful foliage, and 3 cups on the bottom and 3 on the top, like a group, right? But one element in that group is standing out, is isolated, is not neatly lined up with all of the others, like kind of maybe doesn't have a friend. And so I can't help but think, is there a way that you can embody temperance, can perform, enact, find the magic of temperance to help this Page of Cups, who's, I think, being gatekept by the Page of Swords, another member of the group, to help this page integrate better into the community. In the right away, this Page of Cups is not likely to be fully and neatly integrated like we might see, I don't know, with an 8 or a 9 of cups. But is there something you could do? I noticed too, Temperance is holding not cups, but 2 vessels for liquid, right? Pouring from one to the other. So we've got 1 cup that the page is holding, and your job, because you're the one with the wings, right? You chose Judgment, you're the one with the wings. Your job is to take that 1 cup of the pages, this person who's maybe a little sensitive, maybe a little oversensitive, but feels outcast from the group, your job is to pour more nourishment into that person's cup. Grab another cup and get those cups integrated with everybody else from 1 to 2 to 7. So maybe here the solution to the problems that everybody's facing is it's not so much that you're being gatekept, although this guy's thinking about it, but I think when they see your passion, they're going to change their mind. But maybe they think that this person doesn't have the same passion as you because maybe you're a little more fiery, and this poor page of cups seems too wishy-washy or like goes with the flow too much, and this page doesn't recognize their devotion. The world. The world underneath the page of cups. This makes me think that the page is surrounded by other members of the group, but isolated, right? That this person needs your help, okay? Or somebody's help. And I think the cards are saying it needs to be you. Right? Because you have the opportunity here to be the angel of temperance, to go from being the judgment who's waking people up to get the group to integrate. But this person is cast off. It's almost like they're walking away. And maybe they're oversensitive. Maybe they got their feelings hurt, but they need someone to come along and offer them a cup. So they're still a member of the group here. But when I think of the world, one thing I think about is completion, right? Something is ending so that something else can begin. And so I wonder if underneath it, the Page of Cups is thinking, maybe I'm done here. Maybe they don't really want me. Maybe I don't belong in this group. Maybe I'm not good enough for this group. This guy seems to think I'm not, right? They're standing on top of me all the time with their sword out. And now they're looking at this other person and thinking about cutting them out too, gatekeeping them too. We have the Ace of Wands or batons. Okay, so we've got 2 cups, we've got 2 wands, 3 majors forming a tidy diagonal here, and this 1 sword. So I do wonder if, it's this page's insecurity that is causing them to do the gatekeeping. Right? I mean, I guess that maybe that's obvious. We know that. Why does somebody gatekeep? Well, because they're actually insecure about their own knowledge and power and ability. So they feel like if they exclude others, right, like the poor Page of Cups, maybe nobody will recognize that they're not maybe all they're cracked up to be, right? This isn't a king. This is a page, right? So this is a spark of fire, right? The Ace of Batons is a spark of fire. And so maybe this page needs their fire resparked, right? Needs a fire lit under them to get them to reignite their passion so that it can grow up and be 10 instead of just the single wands. There's so much potential here, right? And I can't help but think, right, if I sort of pull out and think about these 2 cards next to one another, this is a 0 and this is a 1. So underneath the page, we have a 0, like they're ready to be done. They're ready for completion of their interaction with this group, and it feels like they're walking away. but underneath you, as through the visual rhyme of the wings, you're the judgment, but you're also temperance. Underneath you, there's a spark, and maybe you can use that spark to get the Page of Cups to find their passion again. Again, the Wheel of Fortune, it turns and it returns. Things happen again. Here we go. Perfect. Perfect. So find their passion again. Amazing. Okay, so let me answer the question. I think the most important thing is indeed to answer the question. And so the question was, is someone gatekeeping me? And the answer to the question is they're thinking about it, but they're not actually doing it yet, although they're prepared to. And they're probably not going to when they see how much passion you have and how enthusiastic you are, how excited you are, how stimulated you are for the group, right? For whatever the content is that you all are interested in, right? Whether it's music or a fan group or an activity or a game or whatever it is. I think they're not going to gatekeep you, but there's other people that are gatekeeping, right? They're a gatekeeper. And so is there any way that you can try to heal that situation, right? And integrate this poor Page of Cups, whoever this is, and could be multiple people, right? It may not be just a single individual, but this Page of Cups could be standing in for others. Can you help find others who are on the margins of the group, who are in the group but pushed to the edges? Your job, the cards are asking you to help that person reignite their passion again, right? So that it returns to them, so that they don't feel like they have to leave the group because this person is stepping on their head all the time and holding a big, mighty sword. So in a sense, it's asking for you to find a middle way to be a peacekeeper, right? To heal, to find balance, and maybe to do the impossible, right? I always think with temperance of the way that if you can imagine trying to take two vessels filled with water and pour water from one to the other, this is impossible, right? The gravity would pull the water down. You cannot pour it like that. So temperance can do what's impossible, can do the impossible. Okay, I'm very satisfied with this, but one thing is irking me, and that is that this poor Page of Cups, who's oversensitive, maybe not oversensitive, I've said that a few times, maybe they're just the right amount of sensitive because they've been poked around by this page. They're looking at something off the side, and I just want to see what that is. They're looking at 3 coins. Collaboration, right? People working together. Three coins growing to produce something good, something valuable, right? So the page wants to be part of the group, right? And you're going to have to do something to reignite their fire and get them to stay. And maybe have a little talking to with this person about how excluding people is not the way to keep a group strong. Okay, so I'll end it there. I hope that you enjoyed this reading. I hope it gave you a new perspective, a different way of seeing things on your situation that you're in. If you enjoyed this, I'd very much appreciate you subscribing to let me know that you're into this and you'd like more of it. That'll help encourage me, and I would greatly appreciate the feedback. Okay, I'll end it there. Have a great day, everyone, and I will see you next time.